Jesus Christ, it's time for Must Have Seen TV, the podcast dedicated to the sitcoms of the 20th century from I Love Lucid News Radio. I'm your TV guide, Brett White, and I'm also a senior reporter producer for Decider.com. And say hello to the French to my Bill, Ethan K. Hello, Ethan.
Hi, Brett. Hi. Merriest of Christmases.
Merry Christmas. We'll get it, but first
I
pop
hate
in a
you
Dr.
for this.
Pepper because I said last week, I was like, we're gonna do Family Affair, and I was like, I'm not telling you what it is. Don't look at what it's about.
I didn't read a synopsis. I did not read. I did a lot of background research on the cast and the show itself, and that was already depressing. I did that yesterday. I did that, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the grimmest show that has ever been written. This is okay. And then we watched the episode today, and I'm like, oh, all of that comes out on the screen.
Yeah, this is a very haunted cast. But before we get into that, what are you watching? Because I do need to tell you about a horrible movie I watched.
I will say that Megan and I finally finished Chapel Wait, which was on Stars.
Oh,
I think. It is an adaptation of a 10-episode adaptation of Stephen King's short story Jerusalem's Lot, which is from my favorite collection of Stephen King short stories, Night Shift, which I just realized I have on the bottom shelf, and a shelf that's this big that has all of my fiction on it, that I feel I should watch it. It is Adrian Brody and Emily, what's her name from Schitt's Creek? She played Stevie.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what her name is, but
I'm losing the name. It is straight up early 1700s, late 1700s vampire horror in a small town, gigantic dark house, a vampire cult. And we started watching it, and we just got back from a vacation in the Dominican Republic, and one of the things that we did was we brought down an HDMI cable and my laptop, and we watched a whole bunch of stuff. You know, after we did the beach and we did the restaurants and we did the pool and everything, like it gets to be like, 9 o'clock. There's not much going on around.
Oh yeah.
So we plugged in and we watched the rest of Chapel Wait, which is vampires, and Adrian Brody. There's also worms. There's worms everywhere.
No, thank you.
But we really liked it. It'll never get a second season. There's no way that can happen. But we really liked it. But what about you?
Too many things. So I mean, I reviewed my 39th Christmas movie of the season today.
It's like saying you got your 39th gallstone removed.
Yeah, I mean, I am glad to say that like 30 of them have been good.
Oh, that's good.
But today was one that was started out for the first hour bad, and in the last 30 minutes it did the magic thing where it just keeps on pushing, and where it becomes a good because it got so bad. It is called I Believe in Santa. It is a Netflix original, which, to sidebar, Netflix's Christmas holiday offerings this year are horrible. And they usually every year they send out a press release. They make a big deal about here's all of our holiday offerings. It's like a dozen movies with people and they usually do big budget stuff like the Christmas Chronicles, Jingle Jangle, and even like good rom-coms like Love Hard and the Holiday. Like they've done some like good original stuff. And this year they have the Lindsay Lohan movie and then a whole bunch of junk that I talked about Christmas on Mistletoe Farm with Poppy with from the Nativity Lady. This is an original, which again, oh boy, and it is about the actor is 53, so I'm going to assume I think the movie thinks he's playing 30. He's a lawyer who believes in Santa Claus and loves Christmas. He starts dating a woman in July. She hates Christmas. And then by the time Christmas comes around, they've already been together for 5 months. And then she discovers that he loves Christmas. And then he has to like nervously, essentially come out to her as a Santa believer. And the premise sounds very Hallmarky. And for the first hour, you're like, this sounds like it could be a fun whatever. But it takes a turn in the last half hour to be a serious relationship drama.
Oh God.
And character study about this poor, like, there are scenes that are like a relationship drama about a marriage falling apart because of an affair. Like, there are scenes with that level of weight, except the other woman is Santa.
Oh, is Santa real in this world, or is no? There's no Santa.
I mean, of course, spoiler alert. It ends on like a the little girl asks for an iPhone for Christmas, and then she opens up a box and has one, and the mom is like, "What?" And that's it. But it's just like the whole movie. The whole movie also, I think, is a metaphor for faith and religion. And I looked to see if the writer and director were like, work with Kevin Sorbo about a lot, but they don't.
Like,
and I couldn't tell if they did. They didn't seem to. But like at one point, there's a Muslim character who is like, he doesn't look down on me because of my faith, or he doesn't judge me because of my faith, so I shouldn't judge him for his. And it's like, motherfuckers. The one thing I wanted the damn movie to say, which is the thing that I want any Christmas movie to acknowledge, is that if Santa Claus is real, then parents all across the world need to like explain why they aren't curious about all these gifts that they did not buy under the tree. No one ever answers this question.
That's home invasion.
Yeah,
that's home invasion and reverse burglary.
And so it's like, what is wild is that, like, if you are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, etc., like, you aren't required to bring physical proof of your religion, because like you can't. Like, it is so old. Like, it is so old. It is all about faith, etc., etc. Like, you can't like physically prove here's God. Santa Claus is in theory leaving evidence every Christmas under millions of trees.
Well, yeah.
and so like the whole, because he's a lawyer, so he like applies logic to it, and it's what? Like,
no,
yeah, Santa it is Claus. Wild. It made me also, so the first hour is wild because he has the energy of Jim Carrey's Cable Guy, but he is treated like a rom-com lead, and it's like, he doesn't look young, he acts like a child, he believes in Santa. Why is this professional journalist lady, who all of her columns have to do with holidays and which ones she likes or doesn't like? I feel like you only got 1 year with that, and then I don't know what you're writing about year 2.
It's called,
anyway, it's amazing.
Yeah, like what do you do with something with a column like that? That is my favorite holidays.
It starts with her writing about how she loves July 4th because it's July 4th. And then when Christmas comes around, her editor is like, you know why I assigned you the Christmas article? Because you don't like Christmas. And it's just like, wait, you just told her write about Christmas? Like, that's not how anything works.
Yeah, okay. There's I
gotta watch it.
I hate it already.
I was taking so many screenshots and sharing them with my coworkers because not like the actors don't know how to make faces that convey love, so she always looks terrified and he always looks unhinged, and like escaped from the ward, like serial killer, and they're in love, and they're also married in real life, so I don't know why they can't convey sexual chemistry. But whatever.
It sounds terrifying. It sounds absolutely terrifying.
I believe in Santa.
I believe in Santa. I hate Christmas. I love Christmas. So far Christmas is Christmas. I'm wearing the hat. You're wearing your pajamas.
I'm wearing my Jonathan Hart pajamas. These are vintage. I think they're Botany 500 red. Probably like nylon, but air quotes silk pajamas, which are like ones that he wears in a Christmas episode.
Well, that's very nice.
I'm crazy.
Um,
We do have one Twitter comment that I
oh,
saw.
cool. I hope it's nice.
Well, Chaotic Rambler on Twitter asked if we've ever heard of On Our Own. I just found out about it. It stars Journey Smollett, who played Black Canary in Birds of Prey, and the entire Smollett family. And it was basically, what if the Boxcar Children did a bosom buddies to full Child Protective Services into thinking they had a caretaker? Which it aired on ABC in like 94. And so here's the synopsis of the pilot episode that I found, which honestly relevant to today's episode. After their parents die in an automobile accident, 20-year-old Josh takes over as authority figure of his 6 younger siblings, but the by the rules head of Department of Child Services, Gordon Ormsby, that's a wild name, hears of the Jericho's case and sends new social worker Alana Michaels to investigate and, if accurate, prepare for foster care. Josh assumes the identity of Aunt Jelcinda to combat the authorities.
Oh, come on now. This is Mrs. Doubtfire, Smollett family.
Yeah.
How many episodes did it last?
20. It was a 1-season wonder. They retooled it halfway through to try and make it, work, and didn't.
Did they do the bosom buddies thing?
They nixed the Jelcinda stuff.
They nixed the
thing that made it interesting.
That's it is sad when that is the knee-jerk reaction to make this better. That's the problem with the show. That's what
we've done. We've nixed Barb Harley because she. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just.
I saw Barb on Saturday.
Yeah, I got into drag to host my Christmas party. Getting into drag takes a long time, so I'm just kind of she'll appear when she appears.
She appears, but I will have to say that we have 2 episodes that we have recorded that are on Apple Podcasts, but have not made it up to YouTube yet. Views. We have the Thanksgiving Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode.
Oh, right. Yeah. And
the Christmas Father Knows Best episode.
2 good episodes.
2 good episodes. There's so many times like where I have to judge it thumbs up or thumbs down. Was this a good episode or was this a bad episode? And more often than not, I'm going into things being like, oh, do I really have to watch this? And I end up enjoying it. Like Father Knows Best, perfect example.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is a grody old, patriarchal black and white 1950s show. And I'm like, at the end, I was like, I'm really touched by the story of a transient who steals things. And then there are times where I go into it like today, where I don't know enough about the TV show itself, but my overall impression is bland. And then I start watching it and go, holy shit, this is awful. This is rancid television. Family Affair is a sitcom in the way that the Zapruder film is a sitcom. Like I will tell you, and this is my own count. I counted however many times the laugh track was turned on.
Oh yeah.
Over 25 minutes, the laugh track was turned on 9 times.
Yeah, it takes. I clocked. Well, yeah, I'll get into it because I also clocked like the first instance of it because I was like, this is taking way too long.
2.5 minutes through.
Yeah. So this week we're traveling to November 11th, 1968. I forgot to change the date in my script, but I remembered it. Head ruled the box office, The Monkees, and also next week, Yellow Submarine tops the box office. Hey Jude by the Beatles topped the charts, and CBS aired the Family Affair episode Christmas Came a Little Early. Ethan, you must have seen Christmas Came a Little Early before today. I'm sure
it wasn't streaming during I loathe myself period, so I did not watch Family Affair. The Christmas Came a Little Early.
I did. Well, no, I probably haven't seen this episode, but when I was a kid, I did watch Family Affair quite often. It came on. It might have been a TV Land show because there was like the A list that was on Nick at Night, and then like the B list of like TV Land, and I think it might have been on there. And I watched it because my mom loved Family Affair when she was probably 10 or 11. I'm now realizing, I just realized this today, I mean, my mom grew up in like rural as hell, like Tennessee, Kentucky border with an outhouse, I think. They had to walk to the neighbors to watch television, like kind of poor, and also divorced parents. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if there was something about rich uncle takes in children and they get to live in a nice apart. Like part of me is like, oh, maybe that's what connected with her as a 10-year-old. But you know, had a proto gay crush on Brian Keith. I still think he's handsome as hell. So that dates back.
I will give you that. I admired Brian Keith from The Parent Trap. I was like, oh, he's a really engaging actor. I remember the name. Do you remember the first or second time I guested on this podcast and you had that big book of old sitcoms?
Oh, yeah.
And the one that we picked was The Little People, which was a show about a children's pediatrician living in Hawaii, played by Brian Keith, which didn't do so well, but it got a second season. It was renamed The Brian Keith Show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about depressing things, because we need to bring everybody down here. Brian Keith worked very steadily. Commercial actor, TV actor, movie actor. Parent Trap, kind of the high point of everything. Trigger warning, he killed himself.
Yeah. Like, when did that, that happened? 80s? Late 70s?
Let me double check that.
Because I reckon like he is on television all the time throughout like the 60s and 70s, and because I can visualize him as an old man, so I know that he lived.
Yeah, he died in 1997.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
it is just one more kind of tragedy associated with this show. I think the people who survived generally unscathed were Kathy Garver, who played Sissy,
the older teenage daughter.
She went on and did actually a whole bunch of voices. She was Firestar in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Great.
I guess the kind of the tragedy on her side was she was not the first choice of actor to play Sissy. The first choice of actor went on vacation to Europe and gained 15 pounds, and they fired her.
Oh my God. I mean, I want to hear more about that Europe trip, because that sounds amazing.
15 pounds of career killing. Jesus. Johnny Whitaker played Jody. Jody. Right? He had a cool career in the 70s. He was in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. He was in The Russians Are Coming with Brian Keith. He did a couple Disney things, and then drugs and alcohol hit him hard. Luckily, after a while, he pulled himself out. He started a Spanish-speaking addiction treatment group. So good for him. And then we saw him in A Talking Cat.
Oh, right.
He played the dad in a terrible film called A Talking Cat, where it's a cat that can talk.
Voiced by Eric Roberts. Recorded in a bathroom.
Talking into a cell phone. It's like, hey everybody, I'm a talking cat. Hey, sometimes cats talk. Isn't that crazy?
And his mouth is a little black circle that just like goes up and down.
It's awful CG. It is also starring Catherine DeBelle, who starred in the adult Alice in Wonderland porn film from the 70s. That's beside the point. Talking Cat is a wild film. And then Sebastian Cabot, who played the butler manservant thing, he was generally okay.
He ended up playing Santa Claus in the 1973 Miracle on 34th Street, which I need to find.
Which, interestingly enough, they made him shave his trademark beard to play Santa Claus on that Miracle on 34th Street, because they couldn't get the facial hair to work, so they made him shave his trademark beard.
And then like apply a fake beard?
And applied a fake beard.
Because the whole point of the Santa is that his whiskers are real. Like the tugging is a big deal.
They had to shave his face.
That's why.
He also did a spoken word Bob Dylan album at one point.
Ooh.
But the saddest story in all the sad stories, well, also the producer Don Feddersen gave us Lawrence Welk on television, so we can blame him for that.
Or thank
But
him.
Anissa Jones, who played the youngest daughter, Buffy, died of a drug overdose at age 18 at a party.
In the set, that's the 70s then, yeah.
Yeah, and then the doctor who prescribed her all the drugs was arrested for running like a pill mill. It was uncovered during like this big sting investigation. And then he died in prison, so he never faced he died before trial.
Well, he faced the ultimate jury.
The ultimate jury.
I don't know.
That's
I think when people talk about like child stars having a rough go of it, I do think that Family Affair is what they're talking about. Like that is I would say that's the one that really cemented like child stars. Please take care of yourselves. Watch out for them.
Just reading
humane working conditions, please.
It's just like one thing after another, and then you watch the show, and it really does come out on screen. Everybody looks that like they stare at each other like they're just like watching a car accident.
Yeah, man. Are you ready? This week on SFC TV, we're talking about the Family Affair episode. Christmas came a little early. It's the 7th episode of season 3. And it was written by Elroy Schwartz and directed by Charles Barton. Here's how Tubi describes the episode. Bill arranges a Christmas party for Buffy's ailing friend, Eve Plum. Ethan, how accurate is that description?
That is like the last 4 minutes of a depressing episode.
Yeah, so I was like, we were talking last week about, I don't know, for some reason, depressing episode came up, and that's when it hit me like, oh, the Family Affair Christmas episode, we have to do it. Because I watched this a couple years ago, and I was just like, the hell? The actual hell is this?
I don't understand how they can get away with 9 laughs during a 25-minute episode and call it a sitcom.
I think actually, let's try something where I'm just going to I'm going to sum up the entire episode in like 2 sentences, and then we can just talk about the whole thing, I guess. Yeah. Because like the plot, like essentially Buffy and Jody, but more so Buffy, befriend a bedridden girl named Jan, named Eve, played by Eve Plum, who goes on to be Jan Brady. I keep wanting to call her Jan. And she is terminally ill in some way we do not know. Buffy's like, my Uncle Bill can save anyone. He's essentially God on Earth. She doesn't say that. He pulls some strings, gets a doctor to come. He's like, nope, ain't gonna work. And then they're like, Bill's like, well, let's throw a Christmas for her. Since she's going to die before Christmas, but they make sure the kids don't like understand why they're doing it. Then they have a Christmas. Eve gets a doll, and then the episode ends with it's like after the party. God, did she die right after because like the Uncle Bill's going to sleep. He overhears Buffy just like crying hysterically in her bedroom. He goes in and then just hugs her, and then the episode ends. So it's like Buffy befriends a girl who dies, and they throw her a Christmas party so that she has one last Christmas.
This is a sitcom. You know, I wouldn't have put this one in the hopper for Must Have Seen TV, but it did have exactly 9 laughs. So it is a sitcom. But yes, so imagining what Brett just said. But also imagine the editing is terrible. So after anyone says a line, they hold on the face just a hair too long.
It is very.
Then they
long.
Immediately go to the next face. There's like barely anyone in the same shot.
I did write that like
face to face.
I wrote there's a mile between every one of these lines.
Yeah,
like there is just and what. So the first laugh I wrote down what. The first laugh, here's the level of humor you're getting on Family Affair. So the reason how Buffy meets Eve.
Wait. I'm gonna take it back just a step further because we just need to explain to everybody who hasn't seen this.
Oh yes,
what the whole premise of the show was.
Oh right, yeah.
The premise of the show is there are 3 kids and their parents die. And
is it also an automobile accident?
It's an automobile accident. They are forced to live with their uncle, Brian Keith. He has a name. I just call him Brian Keith.
Bill.
Brian Keith is a wealthy architect, like everyone was in the 60s and 70s on TV.
Has a gorgeous apartment. Like, it's also
apartment.
like the only set that they put any thought into. And they put a lot of, it has a good depth of field, lovely decoration. It is also huge. It has a huge ass foyer.
It has the doorknob on the front door is in the middle of the door, like a Hobbit house.
Wow. Also, Buffy has 2 beds in her bedroom for some reason.
Yep. So he's rich, and he has a manservant played by Mr. French, played by Sebastian Cabot. But it's not a Mr. Belvedere situation where the Mr. French is funny. No, he's just there. He's just another person for Brian Keith to talk to.
He's British, right? Like, that's about.
He's British. He did a lot of voices for Disney. He was Bagheera in the Jungle Book.
Yeah. I will say, like, if I got into watching Family Affair again, my head is immediately going to go to Bill and French are obviously a couple.
Yeah, and
that one scene at the end, I was just like, "Oh, kiss, please."
The one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to look up Family Affair fan fiction just to see if a lot of people wrote that, but I realized like I get a lot of like weird incest stories, and I didn't want that on my.
Well, no, you got to look up Bill/French. That's what you got to go. So now they live with him, and basically. What is shocking about this episode is just how much, like, so much of the heavy lifting is put upon 7-year-olds. How old are these kids? Like, they are young.
They're young.
They're like Michelle Tanner Ice Cream old.
Yeah, this is like maybe 8, maybe 9, but like
they have so many lines. They are like, and so the first laugh of the episode comes when the teacher is like, there's one of the girls, I'm going to call her Jan and Eve interchangeably, just accept this and move on. She basically exists in an intercom, and that's how she goes to school. She listens via intercom and interacts and stuff, and she always has the right answers. And they got a new textbook, and the teacher's like, "Oh, Buffy, you live around the corner. Can you take this textbook to Jan/Eve?" And then, like, God, where'd my notes go? The first laugh is like, well, like Buffy's like, I don't know. I didn't know if I would like her. Why not? Well, it's hard to like somebody who knows all the answers. Laugh. Then the second laugh comes at the 5-minute mark, where Jan/Eve is asking Buffy, like, wait, Mr. French is downstairs? Who's that? And he's like, and then Buffy's joke is, well, he's not our butler, and he's not our nanny. He's Mr. French. And then like Jan is like, oh, I still don't know who he is, and then laugh.
That's how awful this is.
And then there are 7 more laughs.
I wrote that it has the pacing and delivery of an educational short film.
Oh, it really does.
It does.
It really has that.
It's not helped by the fact that Brian Keith just looks like he just got news that like all of his money is gone in the world. His face is frowning, hanging. It is weird that
the synopsis of the show is always Playboy uncle, and I'm like, is he just like the swinginest, Tony Starkiest dude in the first episode, and then just immediately, because he basically kind of has a John Wayne energy to him, like he mumbles every line. So when he goes over to Eve's house for the first time, the mom opens the door and he's standing in the door with his like feet crossed, like leaned against it. And I'm just like, who stands like, he just still looks so cool. And it's like, who stands like that casually?
And then he walks through the door and suddenly, I don't know what happened. The seasonal depression kicks in and he just kind of like turns into, well, your daughter is a friend of my daughter Buffy at the school, and she came over here the other day. I'm just like, oh my God, this is torture. But here's a fun little Brian Keith and Family Affair fact. The director and producers, most of the producers wanted to make Brian Keith work as little as possible. So what they did was they would shoot the entire season back to back, but just his scenes. So they do it in 30-day chunks. So when they each season was 60 days. They would do 30 days with Brian Keith, 30 days with Brian Keith. That was all he would do for the season. The scenes with the children would be shot separately. They would shoot multiple episodes in the same day.
What the hell?
Because they wanted him to keep being Brian Keith and do movies and commercials and other TV shows. So
no one,
I
can't imagine
his career down.
No wonder all the performances are so bizarre. Like, okay, so when Buffy is like, please, Papa, come downstairs and touch her with your almighty power and heal her like the god you are. Like, that's big.
Architect powers.
That's what. But so, like, when he's like, well, I got to do something, he calls the doctor, and the phone call scene is this weird, like, one take, like, oh, hey, oh, yeah, hey, doctor. Yeah, so, this little girl, can you come? Like, no, okay. And he's also like covering his mouth and the camera. Like, it's just a weird. And now it makes total sense that they were like, okay, how many phone scenes does he have? 6? Okay, cool. Here's 5 other shirts.
Yep. Because they just wanted to get him out of there because the kids could only work 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
They would just shoot all their scenes like back to back. So they'd be shooting like 4 episodes at once. And these kids would have to know all that, know what they're talking about, know what they're doing. These little tiny children. Like,
to say one good thing about, so I do think Brian Keith, obviously a great actor, and there is something. I think that he worked so much, obviously, because even mumbling the entire episode, presence,
yep,
a little bit of charisma. I like watching him. Great, love looking at him. There is one really good moment that I did like, where after he proposes this plan about giving Eve a Christmas, stupid Buffy, no, she's a child, she's not stupid. Buffy's like, great, that means Eve will have 2 Christmases this year, ours and then hers. And then the camera cuts to Bill, and you get the entire plan just from like the beat that he takes and like the look on his face.
Yeah,
because they never come out and say, I'm lying to the kids about having to go to Venezuela, so we will fake having Christmas early, but it's really full. Like, he doesn't say that until after it's already happened. He kind of says it, but they really do rely on just his face conveying like, I'm doing this because this girl is like days numbered.
Now, this is where you and I differ, because I didn't find anything that I liked about this episode.
I mean, I didn't like that. I loved everything Brian Keith wore. It's a lot of long sleeve polos, which I do like, and brown like leather Chelsea boots, very good. A lot of good jackets, so love. Buffy at one point is wearing another joke. Early in the episode, Buffy and Jody, I guess they come back from Eve's or something, and they're like, we're fighting because we want to get dinner. I want Italian and he wants Chinese. Like, that's the joke or something. But Buffy is wearing a like yellow and red plaid, almost golf outfit. Like, she has like the little beret with the pom-pom on top. And what is the
we are doing a terrible job of explaining what happens during this episode, because we just can't believe all the things that happen that were not funny.
No, I mean, like, we've said what happens. Not much is like, okay. Well, to start with, the thing that makes me the most angry is the very beginning of the episode. So to go linear, so
the credits.
Oh, the credits are just a whole bunch of Jules and Family Affair.
It's Family Affair. They mention Brian Keith's name, Sebastian Cabot's name, and that is it.
Yeah.
The theme song, though, by Duvall.
Duvall, did everything.
He was in I'm Dickens, He's Fenster, and Fernwood Tonight.
Yeah. And so he did the Brady Bunch theme song.
Yeah.
So the entire premise of the episode, this teacher, if I was Uncle Bill, I would be like, oh, okay, Buffy, hey, French, can you watch Buffy for the next hour? And then I would fucking go to that school and chew this teacher, rip her a new asshole. For like, this teacher is like, the terminally ill girl needs a new textbook. I know, I'll send this child to go visit the terminally ill girl and give her a textbook. it's like she's going to get attached, and now Buffy has to learn about terminal illness and death at a very young age.
But
And
we're going to do it. We're going to do it in a terrible way, where we are not going to actually reveal to the children that your friend is sick or ill. We're not going to mention the name of the disease. This was a horrible way to introduce kids to death. It is a horror. Everything they did was wrong. The Christmas thing, I don't know how it was wrong. It was probably wrong. Like, everything about this show was just, it's just, no one wants to talk about death, including the writers, producers, and directors.
And I'm not even saying, like, you know, you can, Buffy and Eve should have already been friends before this episode started, and that is how you justify. The teacher should not be like, it's the teacher's job to give the textbook to the student, or it's the mom's job to go pick it up, or the dad, or you know, come on, like, don't make Buffy go do this unless there was like some behind the scenes, like Bill, like, hey, can you I need Buffy to learn about death this year, so can you send her to meet a terminal?
I'm not reveling in the fact that it's death, because this show is just all about that. Like, I'm not cheering on death. I'm looking at this as any other show would use this as an educational opportunity for its characters. Thinking about just going back to my own childhood and watching Mr. Hooper pass away on Sesame Street, that was handled so well to the point where it stays with me today. And this was not just a missed opportunity. This was like, the opportunity was 2 counties over, and no one mentioned it. Like,
I have no idea what it must have been like to have been like 7 and watch this episode, or 6 or 5, because like this. So this show was, so, okay, I mean, I'll jump ahead and actually read this. So this show was, first of all, hugely popular, and also very, very, very popular with kids. And so right around this time, 1968 Christmas, so there's an article I found. 1968 Christmas seal campaign opened at White House by LBJ, and President Johnson opened the 1968 seal campaign. I don't know what a seal campaign is. Christmas seal. What's a Christmas seal?
Yeah, it was a charity fundraiser.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they opened it on Tuesday and got a special thank you from its honorary youth masters, Buffy and Jody of The Family Affair. I want to thank you for helping us to help other people, said Johnny Whitaker, 8, who stars as Jody in the TV program, as he gave Johnson the first sheets of Christmas seals in a White House ceremony. Anissa Jones, 10, Buffy in the series, gave Johnson a pin with the cross of the National Tuberculosis and Respiratory Disease Association, sponsor of the campaign. She also presented Johnson with a doll for his granddaughter, Lucinda Robb. Thank you for being such a good president, Anissa said. You're a very nice girl to say that, Johnson replied.
Interestingly enough, the doll is actually significant.
Oh, Beatrice? No, Mrs. Beasley.
This show had merch.
I can imagine. It was very popular.
This show had the doll that she had. Became a toy that kids could buy. There's a doll, just a regular doll, big doll with glasses, that became a merchandise, and then they started doing other dolls of the characters from the show. But it's a show that had merch,
which is very rare for back then. Like, yeah. That wasn't a thing that happened all that often. You never understand what is. I mean, we understand because we're adults and intelligent, but like, even when Brian Keith gets his doctor, and then there's the scene after that, like, of the doctor and his nurse and Eve coming back from whatever inspection. Examination she just went through. Inspection, magnifying glass.
Have you been to a doctor ever?
My brain. So he comes in the entire, so like, he's like, can you take Eve to her bedroom, please? Thank you, nurse. And then he looks at all of them, and then he says,
well, the mom says, would you like coffee? And he says, no.
Well, he says, hold on, like to. Oh yeah, so the doc says, God, I wish I could say what you want to hear. Which is how they basically say Dr. Fountain can't help her at all. But they say it with them all looking hopefully. And he's like, well, I wish I could say what you want to hear. And the mom's like, I'll get you some coffee. And I do like, I mean, I guess part of me, I like the subtlety is an interesting choice because it could be like hella maudlin and all that. But like you were saying, I feel like that's the choice for like ER. Like that's the choice for a show that this is a show that kids are watching.
Kids watch the show and they just dance around it. And I think everyone just kind of comes off looking very pitying through the entire thing.
God. Yeah. All the adults are having a miserable time. Like, I mean, understandably, but like at the Christmas party, all the kids are happy and like hanging out and all the adults are just basically like I was gonna say watching skeletons open presents.
When Eve opens the doll, Eve Plum is just like exuberant. Everything. I don't know if anyone told her she was sick, but she's just exuberant. And she says, "Oh, that's the most beautiful, wonderful Christmas tree I've ever seen." And they pan over to her parents and Brian Keith, and they have a look on their face that's just like she said, "Please bring the priest." Like their faces are just like dropped.
Yeah.
Like frowns. Like it is really fucked up.
So this is I like to think that we've actually hit upon two very, very like similar veins of Christmas episode, but also polar opposite. Because like the Father Knows Best Christmas episode, also it goes for the heart in terms of like it turns out that this guy's a vagrant. They're spending their Christmas like trapped in a cabin, but like it sticks the landing. And then this is another strain of Christmas episode that just like relentlessly bleak because it's Christmas strain, which is a lot of them.
It's
now why is Father Knows Best sad but well executed, and why is Family Affair sad and
it's a solid question. I encourage everyone to listen to the Father Knows Best episode if you haven't already. When it's up on YouTube, it will be in the next, I'm assuming next week or so before Christmas.
Got it.
Check that out because it has that feeling of It's a Wonderful Life, where everything is going wrong and then it suddenly goes right. And the people who are the most put upon are the ones who are the most honored. George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, everything is going wrong, and at the end everyone comes together and lifts him up. And the way the vagrant is, I forget his name in Father Knows Best, he doesn't have anything except his good nature and his integrity and his kindness, and that is elevated. Everyone appreciates that. He's allowed to stay with the family for the rest of Christmas. That is empowering. That is it makes you feel good. And then this is the exact opposite. Yes. There is no hope. There is nothing. There is nothing. And you're going to have to learn this, Buffy, because it's going to happen again. That's the whole feeling, is that like inevitably the last scene where she's just crying in bed is not earned. No one has told her she is sick.
Well, also that begs the question, because Brian Keith is coming from talking to French, who is getting out of his Santa Claus costume. So it is that day. It's that night after the party. So either Buffy has found out that Jan is terminal, or she died right after.
I doubt it's the second one. I suspect it's probably more the first, because it doesn't make sense chronologically.
So what I think might be the problem and the difference, to go back to what you said, is I think that you take this episode, but if the adults are not traumatized the entire, like imagine that Christmas scene if the mother and father were like smiling, laughing with their daughter, even if like Bill for one fucking second like cracked a smile or like gave her like a little noogie or something, like there would like you would get that Christmassy feeling of like, you know, things are awful, but we are, damn it, we love each other. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna be together as long as we can. We're
There's
gonna
none
hold
of
out
that.
hope. And there is none of, like, the kids have it, but the adults are just like wrecked. I mean, again, I, you know, understand in real
But
life you would definitely be wrecked, but this is a sitcom
yes,
they wrote and made choices.
the kids are actually played as kind of naive. Like
Yeah.
they're just blithely unaware of anything is wrong. They have to be lied to have the Christmas thing by saying, "Oh, or Uncle Bill has to go to Venezuela to build a bridge. Looks like I don't think I'll be home for Christmas. So let's do Christmas now. Let's invite your friend Eve. We'll do it at her house because she can't travel." And then they're just like, "Oh, cool, great, fantastic. That's a great idea." They are they are not clued in on any of this,
Oh my god,
and
I
that's what
just I just
drives
I
me up a
just had
fucking wall.
the best idea. So like the episode begins in the classroom with all of them learning about Central American countries and saying the names, and then all of a sudden from one of them can't name it, and the intercom you hear Eve's voice say it's
El
Nicaragua or
Salvador.
El Salvador or whatever. And then then the teacher forces Buffy to go give her the textbook. She goes there after, and then Eve is like, "Can you stay a while?" And Buffy's like, "Yeah, sure." And so they hang out, they play weird games about rhyming.
Yeah,
And
we'll get to
then
that in a second.
right after Buffy leaves, the mom comes in and Eve says, "Finally, at last, a real friend." And it is like, oh well, like that does a lot of heavy lifting of like, she is clearly sick. She's clearly been bedridden for a while and she just wants friends. And so like the episode should have fucking ended with them taking her to the classroom and her getting to meet her entire class, get a whole lot of new friends, and answer questions in person for one time. Like, because they set it up in the beginning and then that gets you your "It's a Wonderful Life," everyone
Nope.
pitching in, everything is, you know, everything's terrible but we're going to be together kind of thing that is Christmas.
It, it just drives me up the wall that they didn't. That was honestly, that's the low hanging fruit, and they should have gone for it instead of what they did go for, which was just a lot of adults looking very sad as naive children think everything is fine.
Yeah, man. So that game, let's play that game.
The game that they play is one of them says a, a phrase, and then the other person has to think of two words that answer that phrase that rhyme. So
Laughter
the first one,
rabbit or something.
a rabbit that makes you laugh.
Funny bunny.
Yes.
And then squiggle wiggle was
Or squirmy wormy. They
squirmy wormy,
like,
yeah.
and then Buffy just looks at her and says, "That's a fun game." And I'm like, your uncle's rich and you think that's a fun game?
Well, they didn't have video games. I mean, like, honestly, when you're rich in the 60s, what are you spending these kids aren't feeling the heat of that money. They're not getting
No.
gadgets. They're not getting gizmos.
It's just
They're just getting like nice puzzles and coloring books.
Right now, when seasonal depression is hitting us the worst, when work is deciding that yeah, for some reason we need to be as productive as we were in the summer, in the winter, when the sun goes down at 4 o'clock, right when everything is just kind of like, ugh, this episode just kind of like it's like multiplies it by like 4. It's so bad. I know that we've abandoned the whole concept of we will walk you through every scene, but literally that description is the whole thing. The scenes are just feed into this. We can't tell her that someone is sick. She's getting sicker. Can you do anything? I'm an architect. I don't really do that kind of stuff. And then it's like, well, we're going to do one more thing. But we're not going to make it cheery. We're going to make it actually really sad. And
they wasted also so much time in that. Honestly, like if you just cut out all the blank space, now understanding how they shot it, this show is definitely probably like, oh god, we got 20 minutes of footage. We got to really use everything. to get it to 25. But like you could get like there's so much more they could have done with this premise, which the premise, while bleak, is unique. It is, you don't see it that often.
You
So
could
like
have done it better.
they could have done a lot more. They could have like lived in Christmas more. There could have been carols. They could have had the party at the school, etc. Now, the only other sitcom episode that I think comes close, and you know what, definitely exceeds this one, is the Alf Christmas special. Which have you seen the Alf Christmas special? Alf Special Christmas or whatever?
No, is this the one where he gets kidnapped by the government and then at the end of the show?
This is the one where a real girl with a terminal illness like wrote to Alf and like gave them an idea or something, or was no, she was like a really big fan and wanted to meet Alf, and so Alf like sent a video to her, and then they made an episode about Alf in a hospital befriending a terminally ill girl, and by the end of the episode she does die, and then like it comes on like dedicated to the little girl, and it's like Happy Christmas. Also in that episode, Alf gets trapped in an elevator with a pregnant woman and has to deliver the baby.
Oh, just like Saved by the Bell.
So it is and also one of the Tanner's friends almost commits suicide and Alf stops him. What is up with Christmas that makes some sitcoms just lose it? Do
they think they have just like carte blanche to just do whatever they want for like it's the end of the year? We're gonna like we can go as weird as we want to go, and some people are like, enough of this comedy shit. Let's do what we really want. Let's get some serious drama in here.
I mean, like, so my personal interpretation of Christmas is that like Christmas is not about a specific emotion. It is kind of about all emotions and letting yourself feel them. If you feel sad, like just really grab onto that, because that's also the meaning of the season in a way. And I think that viewpoint to me can help you get through the season, because like you're gonna get sad at some point, and if you think Christmas isn't about being sad, that's just gonna make you sadder. But if you look at It's a Wonderful Life, the Charlie Brown special, probably other ones, like there is an undercurrent of seasonal depression.
The Grinch,
the
Grinch is all depression,
and so I think that you have to also embrace that side of it. But I don't know why sitcoms like going to like the dead kids route.
I don't know. And this one like doubles and triples down on it, because this is a gem.
There's no respite. Well, yeah, it's all the gems at the beginning.
All the gems at the beginning.
I don't know. Is there anything more to say about this? Poor Sissy gets nothing to do.
So Sissy's in 2 scenes. One is a dinner scene, and the other one, she's in 3 scenes. The one where Bill says, "I'm going to have Christmas," and then the other scene where they have Christmas, and she's at dinner at one point where Buffy says, "I have a friend named Eve."
Here's one. So when they're decorating the Christmas tree, we get they put on all the lights and then plug it in. Is this a thing that is only done on television to get the wow effect of a lighting?
That's what I do.
You put all the lights on and then plug it in?
Yeah, so you get the big reveal.
Oh my god, what if it doesn't work?
Then
I guess you test it beforehand?
No. I just assume they work, and if they don't work, I undo it.
Oh my god, that's so much needless work. Plug it in and then put them on.
We got our Christmas
plug it in, then put it on.
We got our Christmas tree up on Sunday, and we fluffed it out yesterday. It's an artificial tree, but even before we even fluffed it out, I had it plugged in, because it has lights are automatically strung on it. Now we're going to put more lights on top of that, but so we still haven't put ornaments up. That might be tonight, that might be tomorrow. But that's Christmas here, here in Westchester for us, because we usually go out of town for maybe a little bit. But there are years that we do bigger, but we didn't this time around.
And Eve won't get to see a big Christmas. The end The end of the episode is also fully just, I can't believe that they did this. So it ends with like there's like a violin in the soundtrack that is just like really just like stabbing it into you. And it's just like so sad. And then he hears Buffy crying. He goes in, hugs her. She's just bawling, and he holds her tight. And then zippy end credits theme
by Frank Duvall. We're gonna show the jewels again.
Yeah, and I'm like, this. Can you not?
The family affair, family jewels.
That's kind of like in I Believe in Santa, where he gets into a serious fight over Santa, and then he like goes to a outdoor concert, and someone starts singing the Saint Nicholas. God, what's that song? But like, then he feels sad, and then he's like, I gotta go. Because they're singing about Santa, and Santa just might have cost me my relationship. And the entire time I am waiting for them to do anything to indicate that this is a joke, and it is so serious. Anyway, are we ready for...
I'm usually not the person that says put Christ back in Christmas, but maybe he's the reason for the season and not your blind devotion to God Santa.
It is rough. Ready for some must-have facts? Is there anything else to talk about this relentless gloom of episode?
It's hard being so up about this episode. It really did bring me down.
I'm so it is an oddity. It is a curiosity of television. It is like, you know, this subgenre of sitcom Christmas episodes where children are terminally ill. Why do they exist? Don't know.
Please excuse some of my flippancy and bluntness, as it is a product of both anger and amazement.
Yeah. But do you want to know how many people watched Family Affair?
Literally everyone in the United States watched Family Affair.
About 25 million people. It was the number 5 the 5th rated TV show of that season. Beat only by Mayberry RFD, Bonanza, Gomer Pyle, USMC, and Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Weird mix of shows there. And then the CBS Monday night lineup was Gunsmoke, Here's Lucy, Mayberry RFD, Family Affair, and then Carol Burnett. Ooh. So this night, people watched that episode and then watched Carol Burnett. I can't imagine being a parent in November 11th, 1968. You're sitting down to watch, you know, essentially like a TGIF sitcom with none of the laughs. Like, this is it's a family affair. And then it like ends, the silence in the living room
ends. It's just, yeah. It's a rough one.
And then here comes Carol Burnett.
What else was playing at the same time, Brett?
So, what are you watching? On ABC, The Outcasts aired an episode wherein Earl and Jamal become unwilling objects of hero worship by 17-year-old who faces hired gunman who killed his father. I don't know anything about that. Then on CBS, we had Family Affair. Uncle Bill arranges early Christmas for critically ill girl from Buffy's class. And then on NBC, the movie Now You See It, Now You Don't, starring Jonathan Winters and Luciana Paluzzi. An art expert has the task of assuring security of priceless Rembrandt loaned by Louvre to American Art Show. I'm watching that movie, probably.
I'm going to Vietnam.
A very Vietnam Christmas.
I'd probably watch the Jonathan Winters movie.
Yeah.
I probably would.
I mean, maybe I'm a huge Outcast fan, but I'm assuming that The Outcast was a Western.
Yeah. I probably didn't see the Jonathan Winters movie in the theater because, I don't know, I had something to do that day.
Yep. It is a bounty hunter who was a Confederate officer teams up with an ex-slave who was a Union soldier during the Civil War. Man, TV sure was TV back then.
Yeah. We remember all the great music from the late 60s, but we don't remember the television.
Man, and one of my notes while watching this episode was just like, what was television? Like, this aired on television for
Was
millions of people.
Was sitting down to watch TV like a chore? Like you had to do this?
Brace yourselves. We're gonna
Yeah.
come. We're
Please
gonna
tune into your nightly family affair.
grapple with mortality. On IMDb, 71 Cabot heads rated this episode an 8.6 out of 10. How much lower should that be? So
I can't imagine what it would be like if there was an episode that was rated like a 4 or a 5. Like, are there like no laughs?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe I wonder how this show like every episode I'm seeing 8.8, 8.4, 8.6. Like
it was well remembered. People
people love this show. I really am interested. I want to know what they love about it.
And I know why.
Children.
I just figured it out. It's because people like your mother remember the show. They were 10, 11, 12, 8, early, that age. They all got online at the same time. And what's a family-friendly site that you learn stuff about things that you used to love? IMDb. So the people on IMDb who had seen the show and are rating it are people who were fondly remembering it because they were 8 years old when they watched it in 1968.
Yeah. Oh boy. I do think that there is a version of this exact plot that is an 8.6. I think that, like, if we tighten it up, if we actually like make it to where we are trying to impart some sort of like needed life lesson to generations, like, or if the school gets involved, it's an 8.6. This episode 5.
A lot of staring contests, just a lot of just people reacting to something someone else just said and then saying something, and then camera switches to somebody else and they take in what that person just said and then they talk,
just like life.
Who
had the must-see performance?
The end credits.
It really knocked it out of the park, really ending the show.
And I was looking forward to their performance for the entire episode. I was gonna say Sebastian Cabot, but he's only in like 2 scenes.
Well, no, I think Sebastian Cabot, sir.
I was gonna say Eve Plum, but she just was over. She did not play the character well. When they're saying like, "Oh, she's getting weaker and weaker," and it's not noticeable at all. She's still just a very peppy Eve Plum. I'm like, no, she's just playing Eve Plum. Buffy, I did not like. Jodie, I did not like. The parents, I did not like. The nurse was good.
Sissy was fine.
Sissy was fine.
I mean, I'm tempted to give it to Brian Keith just because he's hot, but Brian Keith's wardrobe.
I can give it to Brian Keith because he had to carry all of the emotional baggage because literally no one else knew what to do with it.
He is giving I think there's also a version of this show where his performance makes total sense and like really fits in. It's a much more grounded show.
Yeah.
But there's also a version of the show where his like low energy contrasts better with the kid's high energy, but that isn't this either, really. It is. It's weird.
I want to like Brian Keith because I liked him in Parent Trap, and I think that he is a fine actor. I've seen him in something else, and I can't exactly remember what. And I'm like, oh, I remembered him being really good in Parent Trap to the point where I remembered his name when I saw it when I was like 16. And I've kept that, for all these years later. And he let me down. Don't let me down.
Don't let me down. Brian. Must other people see this episode either as a family affair episode or a Christmas episode?
No, this should be put in a vault and buried underground with a sign that says there is nothing of honor here to keep people away. It's a terrible episode. It was awful.
Is that kind of what Tubi is? No, just kidding. We love Tubi. Tubi has everything, literally.
Did you see it on Tubi?
Yeah, I watched it on Tubi.
I watched it on Freevee.
Freevee and Tubi.
I don't have anything to say about the ads that I saw. They were just kind of like
I
the
keep
standard
forgetting.
regular TV ads.
Yeah, nothing.
Tubi has the good ads. Tubi has the
Old people, right wing old people ads.
The weird things like, "Hi, I'm Leslie Nielsen's dad, and I buy gold." Like, weird shit.
Do you need vaginal mesh or whatever the fuck those commercials are? Anyway, God. Ooh, any final thoughts?
I think this is going to be our last show before the end of the year.
Well, maybe. I mean, we could wait. Hold on. 14th, 21st. I don't know. We could try to squeeze in the 1970s Christmas episode, but I'm not going to make any promises since I'm very sluggish.
Yeah. A little peek behind the scenes. Brett knows everything about the holiday sitcom episodes, so which the good ones are. Fresh Prince.
Like this.
So you can point to the good or bad. You can point to them and say, "Oh, we should do this one." And I'm great with that because you've been down this path before. I can't believe you watched this episode before.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I was disappointed because Christmas is literally in the title and it ain't much of the episode.
I'm amazed that you let it slide because it aired in November.
Well, I think November it's a Christmas adjacent month. Because a lot of holiday movies are released in November, mid-November. So I think it can count. And the episode of Christmas came a little early. So I do think, it came early, man.
I'm happy that I got to talk to you tonight because I didn't get to talk to you much during your party. I'm just kind of like, now I have to go make a home chef and feed the cats, and it'll be okay. But God, that episode was tough.
Just
that one.
Go watch some Brady Bunch. Just see some good Eve Plum. Eve Plum in a Christmas movie this year. She's in Holiday Spectacular from Hallmark, which is the period piece about the Rockettes that is not factually accurate in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but is a fun movie. So Holiday Spectacular.
The real history of the Rockettes. Here's the founder of the Rockettes, Tony Stark.
Howard Stark. Okay, where can people find you on the internet if they want to send you stills of Eve in bed?
You cannot send them to me on where I am. I'm on Instagram at EthanK55. Yeah, that's the place to get in touch with me.
And so yeah, everyone can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett White. You can also follow my drag alter ego at Barb Hardley. I am working on a Christmas special. I have released 3 numbers from the Christmas special. Santa Baby, Jingle Bells, Bing Crosby Andrews Sisters edition, and Christmas Baby Please Come Home, my ode to the Jonathan Hart, the love of Barb's life and also my life.
I didn't see that last one.
I finished it yesterday. So yeah, scope those out, and hopefully I'll have a whole special done before Christmas. But you know what? If I don't, no sweat, because I don't owe anyone anything. It's all creative outlet. Follow me, read the words that I write at decider.com. Please rate and review the show in Apple so we can read your reviews on the air, please. For Christmas, give us good reviews. And yeah, subscribe on YouTube whenever I get videos up, which, let's try to do that tonight. And I mean, that's probably it, right? I mean, thanks to Acast, you're holding it down.
We've got fans who watch us on YouTube, so I know.
Do it.
Mork and Mindy got 41 views.
What?
41 views.
I barely know. I definitely don't know 41 people in New York. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
To everybody. Happy everything. And we will see you soon.
Oof.